and we're looking at the euro dollar chart. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the bigger picture, something that I haven't really paid much attention to in recent times. I've done the Dow Jones, oil, Bitcoin, cryptos and that, but there's always been that missing piece, which is the fiat currencies, the currency that we use every day to pay for things. Now, what's going on with the US dollar? I'm going to answer that in this video. According to AriasWave, and I was gifted with the ability to read these waves. I created AriasWave, the methodology, and I thought, hang on, I haven't really properly analyzed the bigger picture, because last night I stayed up really late and I found that the euro had topped, right? With a nice head and shoulders pattern on the 15-minute chart. And I thought, wow, I went back and I did the analysis and I put two and two together like I've never done before. On the fly, recorded it, put it online, and went short. And I thought, have you done that with the bigger picture? And I thought, no, I haven't. And I'm constantly asking myself questions these days. Like, that's what I think a trader should do. And especially someone who has the wave of knowledge and ability to go back and check. So my view has changed on the euro and the US dollar. And I think that this wave down since 2008 in the euro has really messed with people in general. But I think it's over. I think all that is over, completely over. And I'll explain why. First, let's try and understand this pattern, right? E wave, which I always thought this was, is done. I think it's done. I really think it's done. And I'll explain why in a sec. I went back and looked at the price action since 1953. And I started to see things that before I may have seen them, but just sort of veered away from them. And I think that what's going on with this move here is that we're in a long-term D wave. The D wave started in I think it's like 1985 in the euro. Now this is going to get more interesting because I've found a couple of things that are just weirding me out, so I have to like present them in this video. And all the different things that I've sort of realized over the last several hours is that everything's starting to make sense. So the E wave was the weakest move in this what can I say, long-term D wave, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you'll notice that 5 is weak. What does the RSI say about that? It says that, yeah, wave 3 was the strongest wave and wave 5 was weak. I think this is done, and I have evidence to back that up. I don't just say things without presenting you with the evidence. Now, thanks to TradingView, they have a lot of data on the chart. So I can actually show you a lot of these waves. Thankfully, you can't see back until 1953, but this is all we need. And the reason for that is because a 5-wave move down, so B waves are zigzag, D waves are zigzag, right? C wave is one of the only waves, there's a 5-wave move that goes down, right? And E wave goes down too, but what's going on in between, right? So we had 5-wave move up for wave A, and then we had like an A, B, C, and this here is a D. Now, I'm going to talk about this D wave a little bit more in a moment when I look at the Aussie dollar chart, because I just realized earlier that the pattern is exactly the same in both markets. There is a bit of difference and there is a bit of a lag. In fact, the euro is one step behind the Aussie dollar, and I'll explain that. So in saying that, this corrective pattern that started in 1992 finished basically when the euro bottomed out in October 2022. Oh, there's twos going on. So how many years is that? It's like 30 years or something, right? So interestingly enough, you can see that from that point, you can see how price action is respecting this line, which is totally interesting. Another thing to note is that if euro was going to go down, this would be invalidated because the support level for this long-term D wave, it's down here, right? So anything lower than this, it doesn't make sense. And also that it's a 5-wave move and it's a weak one. So I've already shown you the RSI for that particular move. So what are we looking for here? Well, quite simply put, we're looking for a move that is this length in the euro, right? So we're in a pretty cool time to be knowing this because this is the type of thing that we can expect. Euro to roughly $2, right? $2.30 potentially, right? That's just taking a measurement. So that right there is going to be the basis for this for the future analysis for AriasWave, right? So what's going on at the lows there? Well, that's just the first wave. So corrective pattern will occur and then we're going to move higher, right? So that's interesting. Let's look at the Aussie dollar. So the Aussie dollar, I've relabeled this to basically, it's the same thing, right? So the difference is the C wave was fairly long since the floating of the Aussie Australian dollar. The D wave happened in this way. Okay, now you'll notice that the 2008 crash happened part way through the D wave, and then the E wave happened after that topped out, right? So the thing that's interesting with this chart is that after the E wave topped out in 2020, right? And hang on, let me just switch to the Euro chart on my other screen so I can explain this a bit better. All right, so the Aussie dollar bottomed out in 2020, right? But the euro bottomed out in September 2022, October 2022, right? So the Aussie dollar had already created a wave 1 and a 2 in that time, whereas the euro hadn't. So the difference between the euro making this move up versus the Aussie dollar will be that Aussie dollar has one wave, 1 degree of wave above the euro. So potentially that means that the Aussie dollar could go higher potentially, right? Maybe it's playing catch up, who knows? But it's one step ahead, right? So in the euro, this wave down in 2008 was a wave 3 of the wave E. So basically, it was like this move here. Now, what happened here was I think it was a type 1 weak 5-wave move. That was a zigzag at the top, a zigzag in the middle, and a zigzag at the end. I believe that's the case. I need to analyze the internals a bit more to confirm that. But I have a feeling that that could be it. Otherwise, it could just be straight 5-wave moves. I don't know yet. It's just that I've just noticed this recently. But for me, it's very interesting that this B wave had ended already in the last couple of years, and for the euro in 2022, and that it appears as though we're about to move higher and much higher than this red line, which is basically just the beginning of wave C. It's just that we don't have the data for what happened before that in the Aussie dollar. Like even if I go to the source of historical data, you don't actually see it. You only see this wave C. So the wave C was obviously a prolonged wave in the Aussie dollar compared to the euro, right? So my whole idea that fiat currencies are going to collapse doesn't look right anymore, and I think it's more like the US dollar is going to, I suppose, I don't really want to use the word collapse anymore because we have a target for this, right? Um, sorry, that's the US dollar there. I've labeled that up already. See, I've come prepared. But like, what's going to happen once we get to that point there in the D wave is that we're going to see a large move down in the US dollar. Well, a wave E, right? Another one of these moves that we saw since 2008. So does that mean that we're going to see another crisis at that point in time? I would say there's probably a likelihood of that happening, just based on the Dow Jones bigger picture analysis. So at the moment, I'm sticking to my Dow Jones view because it just makes sense. But I don't think it's related to this coming move in the euro. But I'm going to provide more updates on that. I just think it's interesting to just understand the bigger picture. So that's what I thought I'd present here. So in terms of the sentiment, it's bullish overall in general because of this pattern. I must make it clear that there's I don't want to say there's going to be ups and downs. That's a cliche. It's ridiculous, but it's a pun almost. But yeah, look, it's just that we need to trade this up, and we don't know how long the correction is going to go for at the lows, right? We don't know how long that correction will last. There could be a few things that happen during that time, whilst we get ready for a move up in general. Now, I do think that we will see another high in the Dow Jones during the time when this is correcting. So this could be correcting somewhat, unless it does a sharp correction and just moves higher. But that would mean that we'd need to see something happen very soon, and it is possible, right? It is possible. Something like a really sharp correction, that will scare people into thinking that this is not over, right? This is going to go down lower and lower, and then it'll probably reverse and move up. Now, that is a possibility because of what I think is going to happen in the Dow Jones now. With my recent analysis, I believe there's one big smackdown coming and then off to the races. So could that off to the races move be part of what's going on here? I'm not 100% sure, because my view at the moment for cryptos is a move lower. So could we correct longer in the euro whilst cryptos are still correcting? It's possible, right? Otherwise, I'm going to have to take a very close look at cryptos and see how does this compare, because for the euro to be making that kind of move and for Bitcoin to be staying where it is, I've got to be careful with that, right? I've got to be really careful. That's why my analysis is ongoing. Whenever I come up with something new, I apply it to all markets to see if there's anything there that stands out. If it doesn't, fine, whatever, because each chart should be traded based on its own merits, based on its own pattern. Okay, so just because something that's worth $1 goes to $2 doesn't mean something that's worth, at the moment, what, roughly 20,000 odd goes to, like a million, right? It doesn't mean that. That's why I've got to be careful with how I put out the ideas and how I keep my views consistent and only make changes when the patterns say that they should be, not because of the euro, for example. So yeah, hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.